Hi, and welcome back to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio. I'm going to teach you a beautiful folded frame that you can add to the front of a card. You can also use this for a 3D project as well. This simple technique is going to use the Simply Scored, which is a wonderful board to create scoring lines very easily. Here's a quick look at the card we're going to be creating together today. I also have another sample to share with you during today's video with a different orientation so that you can see it several different ways. If this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Click the subscribe button down below, and right next to it, click that bell icon. That will send you notifications when I'm live right here on YouTube, as well as when I share a new video. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's project. As I mentioned in the introduction, we are going to be using the Simply Scored. This scored board makes the creasing super easy. I love it not only for these type of folds, but also for my card bases. It includes a double-tipped stylus tool. There's one end that's a little smaller, the other end that's a little larger. And I prefer the larger end for designer series paper and the smaller end for cardstock. It also comes with 3 place markers that fit in the holes here across the top. So if you're doing multiple scoring projects, you can mark your stop and start points. This is a piece of designer series paper from the Flowers for Every Season package. These prints are gorgeous and double-sided like most of the designer series papers with Stampin' Up. And the double-sided paper gives you opportunities to use them outside of the theme. This package also includes paper prints for the holidays. We are going to score this in the diagonal. So I'm going to identify the 3-inch mark and I'm going to line this up on the track. Now, because I want to make sure the bottom is lined up as well, I'm going to drag my scoring tool down that track so that I have an idea of where the positioning is going to be both at the top and at the bottom. Once you have the paper aligned, we're going to go ahead and use that thicker tip, and we are going to do 2 score lines on the left and 2 on the right. Now, I found this to be a shortcut because it just makes it a lot easier and a lot less rotation. The first line is going to be at 1 inch, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to follow that track. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to score right down inside that groove. Then I'm going to move over to 1 1/2 inches and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Because this is a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch square, I'm able now to move to the 4 1/2 inch mark and score the 2 lines here on the right without having to rotate my paper. This last score line is at 5 inches. Now we're going to turn it twice so that we're going diagonal now, but at the opposite ends of the paper. Again, I'm going to identify where my 3-inch mark track is, and then we'll reline up that designer series paper. Once I have it properly aligned, we're going to do the exact same thing at the 1-inch mark, and then we'll slide over and we'll do the 1 1/2 inch mark. If you prefer, you can do 1 inch and 1 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. This is just a cheat step. So 4 1/2 here, and then 5 inch. So there's one a little bit deeper here, and then a little bit shallower, and then our tip. We're going to work with the pattern face up because the pattern that faces up is also going to be the pattern on the very outside of the paper. So we're going to start first by making sure that all of these centers are going to meet up because like most paper crafting projects, as careful as you can be off by a little bit. You want these to be as close together here meeting as possible. And then we'll turn this now and we're going to do the exact same thing on all 4 sides. And if you have to tweak it, you can pull those in a little bit and then crease them back in place. I do come in with my bone folder and I will reinforce those creases whenever you're doing a fun fold or a fold of this type. You want to make sure your card's going to lay well. Now the next score line is going to come back, which is going to expose the pattern inside. You'll want to come in with your bone folder as well and then crease over those. And we're going to do this all the way around this square. Now you can see this has left a window or a frame. If you choose, you can cut a piece of cardstock that's going to go inside, which is what I've done here. This is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 inch square. I'm going to protect my work surface because I know my image is larger than what I'm going to need. And we are going to focus in the center of this cardstock. I'm going to be using the Petal Pink ink to bring in a really pretty subtle image to the flowers on that paper. And I'm choosing this beautiful floral image from the stamp set called Beautiful Friendship. You'll see it here. This is a product in the annual catalog, and this is the image that I chose. There are also greetings inside this stamp set, which make it quite versatile. We'll go ahead and we're going to ink that up, and then we'll stamp that here in the center. Now I realize that there's another flower off to the left here. It's not really going to be visible once it goes inside of our frame, so I'm not worried about that being there. Isn't the stamp set beautiful? Very much like a photographic image versus a stamped image. This now is going to get adhered here in the center of our frame. I'm going to be using my silicone craft sheet. This is going to ensure that if I get adhesive on my work surface, it won't mar it, because adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to this. I'm going to be using the brand new Stampin' Seal adhesive, and I'm going to place adhesive here on the back side. This now is going to go down inside of our frame, and we'll tack that in place. Now let me talk to you about the placement of the dimensionals for this frame so that it rests nicely. We're going to open up one side, and in the small 1-inch area here, we are going to place 2 dimensionals. These are an octagon shape, so it's going to allow you to make sure that the straight edge is going to go against that score line, so it fits very, very nicely. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool with the paper piercing tool attachment, and I'm going to remove those paper backings. This then is going to come down on top of the white cardstock. Now here, you're going to add another dimensional. I'm going to recommend to use the straight edge of your dimensional again near the center of that crease. You want to keep it away from the edge because remember it's going to hang outside of that window. We'll remove that paper backing as well, and then we'll tack that down. Now we're going to do the exact same thing now all the way around this frame. Now that we have our frame finished, let's go ahead and work on the base of the card. I've cut several layers here of both cardstock and designer series paper. This paper is from that exact same package called Flowers for Every Season. Again, it's double-sided. I'll be placing adhesive on what will be my wrong side today. This now is going to go on a coordinating piece of petal pink cardstock. You're going to find all the cutting dimensions down in the video description below, and then I'll add adhesive to the back side of this layer as well. This now is going to go on a layer of just jade cardstock. This all has a very thin border, and this will go now on the base of Whisper White. I did score it in half before you joined me, and I'm going to use my bone folder for that nice crisp edge, and then we'll add adhesive to the back of this layer as well. These layers will get centered right here on the card base. My next step was to use this beautiful polka dot tool. I thought this worked beautifully with the designer series paper. I did choose to wrap it around the inside of my card base. You certainly can wrap it around these layers if you choose. I'm going to center it over here on the right hand side. I've made a tie, and now we're going to go ahead and just make our bow. Pull your bow tight, and then if your loops are too large, I want to give you a tip. Squeeze the knot and then pull on the raw end, and that's going to allow you to adjust the size of the loops of your bow. And then, of course, you can go ahead and tighten it up. You can go ahead and shimmy that ribbon down in place, and then we're going to trim up the ends. This is going to be held stationary in just a moment by this beautiful window that we've created. I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to add dimensionals in those 4 corners. I'm also going to place one in the center because I'm very cognizant that my card is going to be mailed, and I want to make sure that it's not going to come out sagging on the other end, since the postage machine at the post office does have rollers. You'll want to make sure that the top and the bottom points, as well as the left side, are going to fit within the circumference of your card. Once you're happy with your placement, you go ahead and just tack that down. Now, I want to give you a little tip about the ribbon. Oftentimes, your ribbon will do this, especially if it's a very light tool like this one. Grab yourself a glue dot and then use your tool and just ball it up into a small ball. As a matter of fact, glue dots are very, very sticky. You can use your fingers if you'd like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little card surgery by placing that right underneath the knot where I want it. And I'm going to tuck and I'm going to pull. And now what that has done is secured this knot in place so that it doesn't move, especially as it comes in and out of the envelope. The last step for this card will be adding some embellishments. I'm using the beautiful, elegant, faceted gems. These matched perfectly. I'll be using my Take Your Pick tool once again, and I'm going to be picking up one of the large ones. They have glue dots already on the back, making them easy to use. I'll place this one here near the top right corner of my frame. I'm grabbing a smaller one, and I'll place that diagonally here next to it. And then finally, my last one's going to go down here near the bottom of my frame. I tried to create a triangle here to make it visually interesting. Now, I promised you one other card with a different orientation. This one uses the stamp set Back on Your Feet, and this is a different pack of designer series paper. This is called Playing with Patterns. You'll see that I've used the hammered metal embossing folder here for the strip of purple posy cardstock, small thin strip of Coastal Cabana, just to tie the color coordination of my card together. And I left my greeting real small down here at the bottom so it didn't take away from my card. I would love to know which of these cards is your favorite. Leave me a comment below. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you are interested in receiving a copy of the current catalog, you can request one over at lisasstampstudio.com and click on catalogs. If you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up here on YouTube, which is a like. It certainly helps. And I look forward to having you join me next time. Have a great day.